as we learned in detail, the first interpretation to the quintessential statement of the mantra, which he says it is distinct than the known, it's other than the known, and it's beyond the unknown. So the quintessential statement, as he said, the first interpretation is from the subtlest philosophical perspective. Brahman is beyond the known. That which is known to us is the terrestrial. The nature of the terrestrial world is kshara, is perishable. So first he started to define God with what is known to us, and slowly goes from the known to that which is to the unknown. So what is known to us is the perishable world. So he says the entire perishable world is God. Then he goes to that which is beyond the known, which is the unknown, which is the imperishable element in the perishable matter, the akshara in the kshara. So you got to expand your understanding of what God is. You can't idealize God and say this is God. Everything in the world is perishable. So perishable nature can't be attributed to God. Then he quickly says it is beyond, it's other. In fact, he starts out by saying it's other than that, but we got to move step by step. It's the imperishable in the perishable. The imperishable, what you must understand, is only limited to the periphery or the limitations of the terrestrial world, the perishable world. So wherever you find the perishable world, there is an imperishable substratum that supports the perishable world. So the imperishable which supports the perishable is God. So it takes a leap and he says it is the imperishable. And then he takes a huge leap from that and he says it's actually other than what is known and what is unknown. Then he said it is the, like we learned in the, it said in the 15th chapter, he doesn't give it a name or a term. He just says it's other than that, anyat. But we know through the study of the Shastras that term they give to that is the Supreme Being. Now, all we must understand is God is one. Don't try to mistake it that there are multiple gods or he's describing something multifold. He's just describing of that one God, but he's only trying to expand our ability to conceive of what that God is, to a point where he says that God which you think you know is actually beyond your conception. You can't conceive it. It is way beyond it. Right. Now, the example, the first example we had taken, I wanted to give 3 examples. I don't think we have given all 3, isn't it? Right. The first example which we spoke about was the example of, what was the first example we spoke about, Amitama?
The dream experiencer.
All right. What did we say about it?
The dream is a manifestation of undigested thoughts from unfulfilled desires of the waker. Is that what we? Yeah.
No, there's only a part of it, but what exactly we spoke in the context of the perishable, the imperishable, and the Supreme Being? How did we use the example? Or was it too confusing?
Sorry, sir.
No problem. Gayatri Ma, can you please put up that, please? So I've just put a simple diagram to explain to you what I explained the last week. So this would give you a picture, an idea as to what we are talking about. Now, if you take that circle, the bigger circle, to be the waker's mind. Now, before we get to that, the smaller circle is the dream. The dream is just a small aspect of the entire waker's mind. If the waker's mind is this big, there is a small element of the waker's mind which expresses as a dream. If you remember, we learned that there are certain unfulfilled desires, some certain things which are frustrating, you have not been able to experience, you have projected that as a dream. So that's just a small element. So the dream, that small pocket from the waker's mind, the dream, which is perishable, that's perishable matter. The moment you wake up, there's no more the dream. But then we clearly understood that the dream is nothing but a projection of the waker's mind. So that section, that measured portion, is actually that which supports the dream. What is it that supports the dream? It is a part of the waker's mind which supports the perishable dream. So that part of the waker's mind which supports the dream is the imperishable element in the perishable dream. That is the imperishable. Because the moment the dream dies, it's not that that particular pocket of unfulfilled desires are burnt out. No, no, that very much exists. The vasanas don't get burnt off, isn't it? And then can you limit the waker's mind to just that small pocket which supported the dream? We say the waker's mind is way beyond that small pocket which supported the dream. It is way beyond it. That something which is beyond that which supports the waker's mind, which supports the dream, that part of the dream is the Uttama Purusha, which is beyond the perishable and beyond the imperishable. If you understand the concept, the diagram would help you to seal the understanding. Otherwise, you may still have elements which is bothering you. All right, so take a snapshot, get a hold of it, and then you could try to put the aspects so that you understand why that lift, where is the difference between the imperishable and Uttama Purusha. So the imperishable is only limited to the area of the perishable world or the perishable dream. But Uttama Purusha is way, way beyond the perishable dream, exactly the same way. Yes, Ma, thank you. So exactly the same way, the Uttama Purusha, with the Shastras talking about, is just not limited to the small pocket of the world, which we call as the cosmos, which is the perishable. It's just a small portion. And that which supports that is the imperishable. But the real Brahman, he says, is way beyond the entire perishable realm. It's way, way beyond. You can't even conceive it, man. Just to give that lift and to highlight your limitedness, they bring in the concept of Uttama Purusha. Looks like something is not clear, RPG. Is everything clear or some confusion?
Hari Om Guruji. So is it the Uttama Purusha that is the underpinning or the foundation of that part of the waker's mind that's imperishable? I mean, I think that it's the obvious answer is yes, right? Because it's the substratum of everything. But what's the connection? So if this is imperishable, the dream is perishable, just within that dichotomy, but then underlying all of it is the Supreme Being?
It is Supreme Being, yes, but you can't limit the Supreme Being just in going by the example, you can't limit the waker's mind only to the realm of the dream, can you?
No.
It is much vast. It's much way beyond that small pocket experience of the dream. Perhaps something even the waker himself have not understood. What is the waker's mind? What all that the waker's mind consists of, isn't it?
Yeah. So is it a relative example to show the small element of the dream and the vastness of the mind? Is it to draw that as an example? I guess that's where I'm confused.
Example, if you have to compare the areas of comparison. Now, the dream is compared to the waking world.
Right.
The waking world refers to your definition of the world, which is, as we said, the entire expanse of the cosmos. All of that is the nature is perishable, isn't it?
Got it.
And that which supports this perishable world, the entire cosmos, is that meshed portion in the perishable world, which is the imperishable. The entire perishable matter is supported by the imperishable. Everything that is seen is supported by the unseen. The unseen is perishable. But then when you do, you're only limiting that to the small pocket, that meshed portion, which is the dream. But then, is God only confined to that pocket manifestation of the dream or the concept of your cosmos? No. He's saying it is way beyond. And then comes the rest of the 99%. The 99% which you do not know is Supreme Being, which includes the 1%. Because this pocket is a part of the dream, is a part of the mind, isn't it?
Right.
The dream pocket is happening in the mind. So if I take out 1%, that 1% is the dream. That which supports the 1% is the waker's mind, which is imperishable. And then 100%, in fact, Uttama Purusha is the entire thing, 100%. But just to give you the difference, 99%, which you do not know, is the bigger picture. But the 1% is a part of it. So 100% is Supreme Being, Uttama Purusha. It's way beyond your ability to conceive it. You may come to the extent of the 1%. You will not be able to come to the 99%. Because your intellect cannot go beyond that. That's what he's trying to drive home. It's like somebody were to tell you, it's like, imagine you're having a conversation with the richest man in the world. And whatever his wealth translates to X number of $1 billion, let's say $40 billion, $50 billion is his net asset worth. He's worth that much. And you are trying to interview him and trying to understand his wealth. And ignorantly, you don't understand what that billion is, and you're trying to understand how do you measure. After a point, he says it's beyond your capacity to conceive, man. You don't even know number of zeros you can put to my wealth. It's not that he's not being arrogant. He's just saying you do not know what $50 billion is. You do not know. You can't conceive it. It's too. No wonder I'm the richest man in the world. So you don't even know how many zeros are there. And what does that mean to you? Your intellect or your mind can't fathom it. Your mind can go to you are living in a house, you know the value of it, it's $1.5 million. And then you have some investments here and there which will put another $500,000. So you have your net worth is $2.5, $3 million net worth is. And then you know what the market is, and you say, okay, that is that much, But you can't relate to what is $50 billion. Even I can't relate, so forget it. Okay. Let's come back to the example of the dream. So it is something beyond your capacity. All that is trying to say is it's beyond your capacity. But the dream example will go a long way in sealing this concept of Uttama Purusha. Will go a long way. All right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Paresh, you follow? You're with the text? I'm afraid we can't hear you, Harish. Maybe you have to just plug in your, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Sorry, just a minute. Guruji, I just want to clarify a question. You said the 1% is the dream of the waker's mind, which is imperishable.
Yes.
So so the 99% is that which we do not know. Is that correct? The 99% is something we do not know.
You don't know, even 1% also you do not know.
Okay.
How can you claim to know do you know the imperishable?
No.
We do not know. He's just trying to give us a definition. Imperishable is only with reference to the perishable. It's not that you have experienced the imperishable. Have you experienced the imperishable? How did we describe the imperishable? I am the waker, I am the dreamer, I am the deep sleeper. That which is the common in the waker, dreamer, deep sleeper is the I. I am sleeping, I am hearing, I am talking, I am walking, I am dining. I understand, I do not understand. I have been a child, I was an infant, I was a youth, I was a young man, I was a father, now I've become a grandfather. Huh? Oh, from a teenager, sorry, from an infant, now you become a grandfather. All the while you've been saying, I was an infant, I was a youth, I was a man, I was an old man. How did you keep using the word I in all through the experiences, right through your life? Have you been able to capture that I in all your experiences and all your transactions? You're asserting yourself to be the I. That I is the imperishable, the changeless in the change. That is the akshara. Even that we don't understand. Forget Uttama Purusha. You and I have not clinched. Have we clinched that I? Harish? Have you clinched it? No. In fact, the moment you have clinched that I, you have automatically understood Uttama Purusha. Because this and that is the same. It's not that they're different. It's just the same. We're just trying to understand how limited our concept of God is. There is Ganesha, Lord Ganesha next to me. It is, you will say, yes, it is God. But can I limit it to that Nama Rupa? Can I limit it to that name and form? Can I give it a characteristics and say, this is God? And yet I will bow down to that form, and yet I'll understand it is that Uttama Purusha. Outstanding. So this is, it just gives you that lift way beyond what a human intellect can fathom. And the next 5 verses, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, he demolishes it. It demolishes all your understanding of God. Next 5 verses, continuously, he keeps hammering the truth, hoping it will get into your head. I will also repeat with the hope it will get into our head, not your head, our head. I'm including myself into that sadhana, the journey. समझ में आ रहा है हरीश जी?
Yes, getting there. Yeah, it's
थोड़ा आ रहा है. हाँ?
Getting there. Thank you, Guruji.
The experiences you go through in life are perishable. Everything you have acquired in the material world is perishable, including your doctorates, your accolades, your material wealth, your name, your fame, your family, position, job. Everything is impermanent. You will realize it sooner or later. Nothing is permanent. Isn't it, sir? You will agree to that, isn't it? Nothing I've acquired in my life is permanent. All the knowledge, I was a brilliant scholar. Everybody looked up to me. But suddenly I have started developing dementia. I don't remember anything. I can't even repeat my name. I can't even tell my children's name. What is use of all the brilliance I had all through my life? I was looked up to as the giant intellect of my era. Dementia has come, everything is gone. Nothing is permanent, sir. Nothing, isn't it? So with reference to all that you experienced, which is perishable, they are saying, my dear, realize there is something which never dies. There is that I, that is that Atman, there is that reality which is there with you in every experience. Switch your focus from the perishable to the imperishable. Ah, now I understand, sir. It's so nice. I understand that there is that God that which doesn't die when everything dies. There is the imperishable in the perishable. But then when you do that, most of us, what we invariably do, we limit God only to this perishable element. We think God is only permeating in the perishable matter, just to give us a jolt, which says it's other than that. Just gives a jolt and says it is the Uttama Purusha. So just thereafter, you can't limit it. It is limitless truth. You can't limit God to the perishable. He says it's a limitless, all-pervasive truth, the self. Now, there are two more examples, so don't worry. If you don't understand this, perhaps if there are any concerns, you will be able to seal that in the other two examples I'll shortly give. All right. Kamal ji wants to clarify something.
Pranam Guruji, this is my
Namaskar.
first day in your satsang. I
Oh.
really appreciate you and everyone giving me chance to participate.
Most welcome.
So I just wanted to clarify the Uttam Purush you were mentioning. So basically, you are mentioning Uttam Purush as Atman or eternal or basically infinite. So you would think like an example when like river is flowing in an ocean. So ocean level never decreases or increases. It just keeps on accumulating the river. And it's unaffected by that. Same way, Atman or Uttam Purusha is like that, in which light we are we are functioning basically. Our mind is functioning and everything else is functioning. And it's like it's a self-effulgent light which really drives it.
It is. Yes, it is. In fact, going by the example of the river river which has a birth, the river has a death, isn't it? We go back to the very source of these rivers in the mountains. The rivers have formed somewhere.
Right.
So the river has a birth and death. So we can say the river is perishable.
Right.
But the water which is contained in the river is imperishable.
Right, because it's going to ocean and it comes
It's
back
going to the
from
ocean.
Yeah.
And then the Uttama Purusha is the vast ocean. It
Right.
goes beyond your ability to see the farthest point. When you stand on the beach, the farthest point, you think you have come to the end of that ocean. But if you were to get there, it is unending. Almost so much so more than 70% of our land mass is actually covered with water, which you can't even we can't even see that. You can't even conceive. That, he says, is the Uttama Purusha. So the river is perishable. The water in the river is the imperishable. The ocean is the Uttama Purusha. Going by the example.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Most welcome. Most welcome. Yes. So taking the second example, take the example of a pot. Somebody, a small kid, innocently asks you, Mama, can you please explain? I want to know what is clay, what is mud. All his life, the child has, bought clay packets from toy stores. I remember even when Vaishnavi was growing up, when teacher had to give an assignment, we had to go to a supermarket, to a toy store, and buy these clay, in packets, and then she'll come and make so tall whatever toy she has to make, the dough, correct, the clay dough. And I used to laugh at it. I said, what is it? We have to go and buy mud and clay from a supermarket shelf in these toy stores. No, it's a joke of my life, it was. But never mind. So that child asks you, what is clay? And how do you point out the clay to the child? So you point out where a small clay vase, which is there in the shelf in the child's bedroom. The beautiful clay vase. You point to that vase and say, that is clay. Now, the moment you point the child to that clay, what is the understanding of the child? Now, I'm asking the question in the child in Balaji. So you answer like a child, not like the wise Balaji. Huh? Not that there's any difference, but never mind. Balaji, what would the child come to an understanding of the clay?
Still of the clay.
So be your natural self, sir, which is what I am asking. Don't try to put on an act. No drama venda. Just be a natural self, the answer will come out correctly. When the mother points the vase to be the clay, what is the understanding the child would have of clay? Okay, sir, you have grown up from the child, so you have become a teenager. So answer from a teenage point of view. I understand your concern. You're lost for words. I know you are playing your role perfectly. Amitama, look at the drama this fellow does. I tell you, it's nothing straightforward.
I decline to. I mean, is it a pot? Clay is the pot. Is it a pot? The clay.
The child identifies the clay to be in a particular shape, a particular form, a particular color, a particular texture, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because the child has a limited understanding. He thinks that clay is shape and a form and a color and a texture. This is clay. The child, oh, is this clay? And the mother realizes, this has been a very old clay vase that's been lying there. So in the process of educating the child, the mother quickly goes into the stove, picks up a small hammer, and she comes and breaks the clay pot. In a matter of few minutes, the clay pot has become a lump of mud, a lump of clay. She sprinkles some water and she makes it a lump and shows it. The child says, what? This is clay. I thought that was clay. What did the mother do? The mother said, that which you thought was clay is perishable. This lump of mud is the imperishable in that perishable pot. The lump of mud is imperishable, isn't it? This lump of clay is imperishable, but the pot which has a nama, rupa, name and form is perishable. But the lump which formed the perishable clay is the imperishable. And then the mother says, actually there's clay all over you, all around you. Everywhere there's clay and mud. In every form it's there. It's a substratum of everything. That is the Uttama Purusha. So the perishable, the pot, that which is the imperishable in the pot is that lump of clay. But can you limit the clay only to that lump of mud, Balaji?
Yes, sir.
Can you limit the clay to that lump of mud which formed that pot?
Definitely not. Yeah.
It is way beyond it. In fact, you bring them to India, it's a Madhumaya. Everywhere there's mud. Everywhere there is endless supply. There is no difficulty of going into a store and buying. Everywhere you'll get it. So the concept of Uttama Purusha is that clay is way beyond it. The second example. The third example, two friends are in the desert, and you have actually exhausted your little 2 bottles of water you had. You are so thirsty, and it's still a while for you to go back to the camp where you took a walk. You just take a beautiful walk. Not that you're lost in the desert, but you just walked in the desert just to experience the desert, what it is. You're out of water, you're thirsty, and it's so hot. And you look at a distance, you actually see water. You actually see what? What do you see? Arunama, what do you see there?
The
Don't lie.
mirage.
You see the mirage. What is the mirage?
It's I mean, you get the feeling that there's water, but when you reach there, there's no more water there.
Correct. So what is the mirage in the context?
It is perishable.
The mirage is perishable. What is the imperishable? The mirage is perishable. What is the imperishable? What is it that doesn't die when the water ceases to exist? When the mirage disappears, what is it that exists?
Can I say it is the desert?
You got to be, you're right, but you got to be a little more precise than that.
Maybe it is the concept in the person's mind that the mirage was existing.
It's like somebody asks you, I want to see the desert. And he looks everywhere, he sees only water. I thought you said desert is dry sand. I see water. You say, no, that what you see is actually perishable. It's a mirage. It's an illusion that you're seeing. That which supports that patch of mirage is imperishable. You're only seeing a certain area of mirage, isn't it? That portion of sand which supports the mirage is
Imperishable, yeah.
imperishable. That is the desert, isn't it? That's the hot sand.
Yes.
But then can you limit the desert only to that few square kilometers?
No. No, cannot, sorry.
You cannot limit the desert to this few square kilometers where you see the mirage. Actually, the desert is 360 degrees, hundreds of kilometers, hundreds of miles around you, way beyond your capacity to understand what is that desert, isn't it? But it starts with the perishable mirage. The imperishable is that sand which supports the mirage, and the desert is the Uttama Purusha is way beyond the seed which supports the mirage. So just gives you the 3 examples you take of the mind, you take of the mud, clay, you take of the desert, gives you an idea as to the limitation of our concept of understanding God. Okay. All clear with this? Lakshmi, following? All right. Now, the second interpretation, as I've said, is a scholarly interpretation. The first is the subtlest. The second is scholarly interpretation refers to the microcosm. The first refers to the macrocosm. The second is to the microcosm. Now the microcosm, the perishable is the gross body and the subtle body. The gross body and the subtle body are perishable, which is the experiences of the waking and dream. That which is imperishable is the deep sleep. The deep sleep, which is the vasanas, which is imperishable. And the Uttama Purusha is the consciousness which supports the waking, dream, deep sleep. The waking experiences and the dream experiences are perishable. That which doesn't perish is the deep sleep, the vasanas. And that, the Uttama Purusha, is beyond the waking, beyond the dream, beyond the deep sleep. It's that which supports it all. That is the Uttama Purusha. It's not difficult to understand this. And a practical example, and a practical interpretation, a practical explanation is what you know is known to you. What you do not know is your ignorance. The consciousness which makes you conscious of your knowledge and ignorance is Uttama Purusha. I have areas of knowledge. Like I say, I know Vedanta. I also say I do not know mechanical engineering. So I know my areas of knowledge. I know my areas of ignorance, what is known, what is unknown. And then there is that which enlivens my knowledge and ignorance. How is it that I know what I know? How is it that I know what I do not know? That is the Uttama Purusha. You would not know how it is. Would you know? I seem to know that I know. I also seem to know what I do not know. You're conscious of your knowledge. You're conscious of your ignorance. So the three interpretations, the subtlest, a scholarly, and a practical, gives you an insight into what the verse is saying. That indeed is other than the known and beyond the unknown. Thus have we heard from the ancients who expounded that to us. Iti Shushruma Purvesham Yenastadvya Chachakshire. Utter humility. Okay? All clear? Ready, Garu?
Pranam Guruji.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's clear up to this moment here, Guruji. I'm sorry to make a point here. It is understood what we're trying to make it, but here I just got one little confusion, Guruji. When we say wakers, dreams are perishable, and before that we made a statement, part of waker's mind supports the dream is imperishable.
Relative example,
Okay.
different contexts.
Okay,
The first interpretation is a different context. The second is a different context.
okay.
Mhm.
Okay, good.
Relatively, the waking world is temporary. Relatively, the dream world is temporary. But the vasanas which supports the waking and dream they're not going to end very soon, isn't it?
Hmm.
They have been coming, as it were, from time immemorial.
Hmm.
So the waker, who is the waker from at this point?
Hi.
Who is that I? Be
Dissemination.
very careful. Sir, it's like you're in a court, sir. You can't use simply pasting now, they'll catch hold of you on that phrase and then you lost the case.
As it is, I'm at the fundamentals of learning ABC.
And suddenly you're put in the court of law now. Now, who is the Waker? Waker is Mr. Srinivas Reddy, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Is Srinivas Reddy permanent?
No.
It's not permanent. Is the dreamer who you dream yourself be permanent?
No.
No. But what is it that created the Waker and the dreamer? What is it that is responsible for the creation of the Waker and the dreamer?
I could not get that.
Okay, hold on, sir. Don't mute yourself. Setramanji, what is it that is responsible? What is it that's created the Waker and the dreamer? It's not trying to make you scholarly, but this is how it is. You need to understand the fundamentals. Yes, sir.
The vasanas.
It is your vasanas. The vasanas have created the Waker and the dreamer, isn't it?
Yes, understood.
So the Waker and dreamer we are saying as perishable. The vasanas we are calling it as imperishable. Now, why are we calling the vasanas imperishable?
It continues with us.
It has been carrying on from many births, isn't it?
Yes.
Is it going to end in this birth?
No. It will be continue.
At least think it's going to end. It will continue, but never mind. Thinking at least we'll get to say, I'm going to end my vasanas, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong, isn't it, to say I'm going to end my vasanas this birth? But likelihood it will continue. So in that sense, relatively, it is imperishable. And then what's Uttama Purusha? Uttama Purusha is that which makes you, which functions in the waking, dream, and deep sleep. So it's interpreting the same concept from a relative perspective, so that we are able to relate to the context.
Got the point. Got the message.
Right, James. Right. Okay. Right. All right.